The goal for the future would be to see silviculture as a recognized trade.
Picture a beautiful, well-manicured, well-spaced forest.
They'll grow quicker, stronger, straighter. You get a more valuable wood out of it.
You obviously sound hopeful because you're putting a lot of effort, risking loss of money for yourself.
They're more resilient to forest fires. They're more resilient to bug infestation. Bigger, healthier trees, more carbon capture.
I'm Todd Burgess. I'm the Executive Director of Forest Nova Scotia, and you are listening to Forestry Uncut. We're going to hear from Tina McCauley and Dennis Bedford, who own a company called Bedford Forestry Services. They're a silviculture company in Nova Scotia, and we're going to hear from them about their new way of attracting and retaining employees, which we have struggled with in the forestry sector. We may hear Dennis and Tina talk about some of their challenges. Forest companies put their money into a pot to pay these silviculture companies certain rates, so much per hectare, to do different treatments. So you'll hear Dennis and Tina actually talk about those rates and how much it actually costs to do that. You may see a little bit of frustration perhaps about how much money is actually dedicated towards those treatments. So welcome, dear listener. You are listening to the Forestry Uncut podcast, and today we have Dennis Bedford and Tina McCauley with us, who are silviculture contractors in Nova Scotia. So I'm going to lead away. First of all, Tina, maybe you can introduce yourself. And what role do you play in forestry in Nova Scotia?
I am a little bit of everything to support what Dennis does in the forest. So I'm more communications, promotions, marketing. I'm a little bit of a branch rattler, if you will. You know.
Okay.
That's really my role. I do all the back end stuff, all of our HR, our bookkeeping, and all of our social media work. I really don't. I love the forest. I just don't like to work in it.
Dennis, can you tell us about yourself, where you came from, what you do?
Well, I started in forestry in Ontario, but I was born in Nova Scotia. Ended up out west in Alberta. Sort of a long story, and then I ended up down in Honduras. Teaching scuba diving.
Wow.
And
Okay.
From there, I met a couple tree planters, flew back home to Ontario, and went and found a tree planting company. And that's how I started in forestry.
So Dennis or Tina, what is silviculture? Because that's a word, it's a complicated word, multiple syllables. What is it and what does it mean?
Silviculture is reforesting. So tree planting, tree spacing, pre-commercial thinning as well.
So why do we care about that? Why can't we just plant trees and let them grow?
It's the same because we want to farm trees. We don't want to just, if you're farming trees, it's the same as your garden. You have to take the weeds out of it. Mm-hmm. You want the best selection. And so by giving trees space to grow, they'll grow quicker, stronger, straighter. You get a more valuable wood out of it. The more silviculture you do, the more areas you don't need to treat. So you won't harvest certain sites. We can have old growth forest left in certain areas. We can have protected areas that we don't have to harvest. We need designated areas to grow trees.
Okay.
And we need to grow better wood.
Okay. So what is this thing you're doing?
Well,
do you want to explain it, Dennis? What you're doing now with your new company?
Well, it started out, we wanted, the workforce is shrinking, not as many people interested in silviculture. And I thought with the right training, we could move people past being safe operators and train them to be more professional. And
so what do you mean by more professional?
Just getting them to speed of being professional. And I shouldn't say more professional. I just mean getting them up to speed quicker.
So they can make money? They weren't making money?
No. When I started the company in Nova Scotia, minimum wage was $5.75, I believe. The rates for silviculture are basically the same, and minimum wage is $15. So trying to make somebody be able to make money in forestry and silviculture, you had to make them 3 times faster than me. And I've enjoyed the job. I became good at the job. I focused on the job. But you start raising minimum wage by 3 times and leave the rates the same, it's not going to work. So the training part of it was starting to lack.
Okay, so can you, if you were just spacing yourself, could you make a decent wage?
Yes.
So you could. So is it fair to say maybe the rates are okay? We just need to be better trained.
The rates should still, equipment's still going up, the cost of vehicles, all the expenses are going up. It still needs to go up. Rates still need to be improved. They're not right. They're not correct yet.
Right.
We're working there, but the training aspect needs to be worked on, because you're going to get, you can't make somebody fast enough to make minimum wage. Day one, it takes a couple weeks, maybe longer, to even get up to minimum wage. And the expenses of the job have tripled.
Right. So it's a liability to hire someone new.
Yeah. If you were experienced and have been doing it for a while, you're surviving, but not well.
So you're training people. It must be expensive.
It's very expensive.
How many people have you hired, or do you hire them? Do you just go out and find people? Where do you find people?
Well, I started out with the idea, because it's always been the idea, is that it was a good job for college and university students. So we started out with that being our intent, and they would always stay 3, maybe 4 years and then move on to something else, a lot of times not into forestry. And when we started, all of a sudden, my son is 17 now, so I'll start with that. And I was starting to look at it that there was no way I wanted my son to follow in my footsteps. And that bothered me. And so he played hockey and soccer. He was an athlete in school. And so I coached them all, and I thought that if I could get the young athletes, I would hit a stride. And we ended up getting quite a few. So we're starting at 16 years old and training them to become forestry stewards. Okay.
So you say with the university students, they leave after 3-4 years. So are you training high school students so that they can work through university and then leave? Or what's your goal here?
The goal is going to be longer than that. There is a career here. It doesn't look good now, but we need to start training them. Whether they stay as silviculture operators or they become harvester operators or quality checkers, whatever forestry has to offer, they will have the boots on the ground experience to start. If they move on to other careers, what we're teaching them and the job that they are required to do, they're becoming efficient, they're becoming hard workers, they're self-motivated. Our job is, most people will get a full football field or 2 or 3, and that's where you work and you're by yourself, or maybe another person with you.
Okay,
and
so out in the woods.
Just out in the middle of nowhere by yourself. And so we're taking these 16-year-olds out into the woods, and I don't have to monitor them. Once I train them, they're loving being out there. They work all day, and they work hard, and they do their best. They're trying to do good quality. And every day they get better, and they love being out there. So,
where is your business? Where do you live? What kind of school? What's a school? Or who supports you in your community?
Well, we're based out of Chester Grant, down on the South Shore. The school that we've had great success with is Forest Heights Community School in Chester Basin. Forest Heights.
Forest Heights.
Forest
Okay,
Heights. Yep. And one of the companies that has really supported us is Hughes Diesel in New Ross. They have been through this whole thing. They have really make sure I'm out the door with my gear always working. The mechanics, they set their time aside. They know what we're trying to do.
Let us run a tab.
They let us run a tab.
Okay.
The teachers, the co-op teachers at the high school, the principals, they come talk to us. So Forest Heights, Hughes Diesel, and we are located in Chester Grant, Nova Scotia.
Okay. So are you making money then? Or how do you get paid?
I'm going to jump right in there
Sure.
because this is where things started to get interesting. So he's like, I just want to bring these kids in and I want to teach them and I want to nurture them and kind of shelter them from the industry. And
Shelter them? So shelter them from
the industry
a
because
forest industry?
Well, yeah, because things are really quite shitty.
Okay.
Rates aren't great. Everything is rising in costs. It's a lot. So if we were to pay, so typically a silviculture worker works on piece rate. If we were to do that, you wouldn't even start the job. It's, give or take a few $100s, but it's just about $5,000 just to get what you need to start to do the job. So Dennis had this brilliant idea that, you know what, I'm going to provide everything. I'm going to provide all the gear. And instead of offering them piece rate, I'm going to offer them above minimum wage while they train. It sounds really good. And it is really good.
You would attract a lot of people.
Well, you attract.
Are you hiring now? Can I come work?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Dennis will take good care of you. So we had this great idea, very innovative. How do you attract, train, and retain? Those are a lot of buzzwords that are used right now. And we really feel like Dennis's idea is that it's a way to attract, train, and retain them. Whether they stay in silviculture, whether they go on to pursue an education in forestry and go on and to do something else, but getting them at this age really seems to be a great formula.
Okay.
So no, we're not making any money.
Okay. So how many years have you been bringing on the young kids?
This is the end of our second summer. So we started in March of 2024.
Okay.
We really didn't hit our stride until August when we got a good group of 16-year-olds.
When you say good group, how many are we talking?
Well, right now we have 12 on our payroll.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have 3 that might come back. They didn't necessarily quit. They went off to do tree planting with other companies.
Okay.
The little bit older, they might move on. But we did, when we first started, we were 8 to 10 employees that kind of came and just sort of left. We were hitting that older age group. There was an idea that you could hire anybody and make them successful, and that wasn't necessarily true.
Okay.
When we started hiring the 16-year-olds, and because I was the high school coach for the soccer team, the hockey team, and the snowboard team.
What? 3 teams?
Okay. So
All right.
I had this little connection in the school, and we all of a sudden hit a group. So I think by last year, we maybe hired 20 people, but 12 of them are still with us, and 3 of them didn't necessarily quit. They haven't completely left.
Okay.
So our retention, we're doing well. We are still with the school. We will probably have between first semester and second semester anywhere from, I believe we'll have 5 here in the next couple weeks starting with us, 5 new ones. And in the spring, we'll get 5 more.
So while they're going to school, you mean?
While they're going to school. So they have to do, some are doing single day co-ops. So once a week they come, and then when they do their co-op, we also bring them on as employees. So they work weekends. The ones, some will, now they're getting older. So some will be finishing school grade 12 and only have co-op. So they'll do a double co-op in the second semester. So there'll be 2 days a week that they need to work with us, but they will be available 6 of the 7 if they want to be.
So co-op, can you explain that then? That's something I'm not aware of about co-op. So
well, it's the O2
schools-
program through the high school. So they're
Okay.
in a sort of a trades kind of work environment. The school that I'm working with, I asked the question, you're sending these kids out to do co-ops and out to work environments. Why don't they have first aid? So next thing I knew that 30 kids were certified in the school for first aid.
Oh.
So all my staff ended up getting first seats, and then we ended up having our entire crew first aid trained.
Okay.
So
So the
there's-
school did the training?
Yep. So the school's working with us, and they're giving us more students to come and do co-op with us. We're getting comments from parents and teachers that the kids working for us are getting better grades in school. They're showing up. The buzz in the school is wanting to come work for us. We're constantly getting text messages, and so we're not actually advertising for work, but we have a waiting list.
Okay, so it sounds like you've got a good program. Do you think some of these students are going to stay with you after school and actually become good enough, and then you can actually start making money? So
Yep.
how do you make money to begin with? You got all these kids and you're training them. How do you make money?
They're cutting the land, and so we're still doing contracts, but we're doing it all with 16 and 17-year-olds.
Okay.
So we're still getting paid for the land that we cut.
Okay. So when you say cut, you mean like you're thinning it and
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just some of our listeners may not know about forestry, and when you say cutting down all my trees, so you're thinning it and allowing the crop trees more space to grow.
Right. Usually about 8-foot spacing, and trying to best tree selection, not always monoculture, not always just spruce. If there's a good fir tree, good pine, oak trees are always left. Plenty of red maple. Red maple's
Okay.
always-
So do you train these kids on how to identify those trees and which ones to leave and which ones to cut?
Well, the best part is that the ones that I have are actually training their friends walking around the schoolyard, so that when they get to us, they don't have to be trained.
Okay, so that's kind of cool, having high school kids knowing their tree species.
Yeah.
So you get paid for the amount of land that gets spaced, and you can't make money at it. So how do you buy your groceries? Like what's going on there? Like
we when Dennis had this idea, he felt that he needed to prove that the idea would work. So that removing the barriers to entry by providing the wage and providing the all the equipment and being selective about who we hired. So we have put a lot of care into the idea of creating an employee profile. So we've determined that there's certain characteristics, there's certain things that you can just tell when you meet these potential trainees that they're probably a good fit. So we've tried to mitigate a lot of that attrition by not wasting our resources and our time by making sure that they're a good fit first. So
I just want to say that bubble of a good fit is expanding from because a good fit is also just because all your other friends are doing it, and then you have healthy competition.
Okay.
So as long as they're social, like they fit on a
So
team.
some of them can fit that maybe they didn't think they could fit before, or maybe they didn't thought.
Absolutely. Some of the employees we have, we gave them the chance. They looked like they could do it, and they have definitely shocked us. And it's fun to watch them.
yeah.
They're
Okay.
getting their licenses now and looking to buy trucks instead of cars, and wanting to be, because the key too is that O2 program where they have to do job placements with it. They sign up for it in grade 10, the end of grade 10 or early grade 11. They pick a seat for community college. So if you do the O2 program, you're guaranteed a seat in community college, and some are going and switching that seat to forestry programs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're looking to make forestry a career.
Okay. So they're going to the community college taking forestry? So you're feeding kids into the NSCC, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Is that a good thing in your mind?
Well, for some of them, absolutely. For some of them, we've kind of designed a program though that if you don't want to continue on to school, we're teaching practical skills that maybe maybe you want to become a mentor for us. Maybe you want to help our business grow. Maybe you want to go and work for another silviculture company. Maybe you want to go tree planting. You know what I mean? So we're looking at this as more of a practical training program. We're certainly not discouraging people from going to school, but we're also saying if it's not for you, you don't have to go to school either. There's lots of opportunities, or maybe you want to make a decision when you're 25. Maybe you want to go to, become a technician or something like that. But we are certainly working hard to lengthen the duration of the average silviculture worker, and also trying to encourage them to help us make forestry a little bit better.
So do you see yourselves training workers and have them move off to other communities, other contractors? Or do you see yourself saying, Joe, who works in Antigonish, this method worked for us. You should do the same thing we're doing? Mm-hmm. Or what's your vision there?
It's a little bit of both. I can't be everywhere. It's been a challenge for the last year and a half doing all of the training. So we've been asked, how is this scalable? And it's not a question that we can answer. If it's without support, we're just building a company. And that company, so all the employees we have we're going to try to keep them. But the idea is to take those ones that we already have that are succeeding, move them on to being mentors, bring the next group in, have a mentorship. So I'll train them, a mentorship. Eventually, maybe we have other instructors if that's the way it needs to go. The goal for the future would be to see silviculture as a recognized trade. And if that's going to happen, we have to have training manuals. We have to have a path from beginner to professional.
Okay.
And so you need mentors, you need trainers, you need everybody involved. And that can only benefit all other companies.
So it sounds like the Dennis Bedford School of Ultimate Forestry Work.
Yes, that's what I've been saying.
Okay.
Dennis Bedford Training Academy.
So what would you like to see if there was a support come out? How would you like to see it? Like so much per hour for your workers, or so much per hectare, or just apply for, a little pot of money based on your business impact?
Not everybody knows this, and we managed to get a phone call. So there is a subsidy. So if you're only working shorter hours,
okay,
you can get a top up.
Okay.
It's like the part of the unemployment system. But you don't get laid off. You're just compensated. So a company can apply for that. But there was a catch when we got the phone call because we don't apply. Just
what's the catch?
16-year-olds don't pay into EI.
That's kind of a big catch for you guys, isn't it?
It was a huge catch when we realized that it was kind of pointless to put in an application.
Yeah. Every program that we've looked at to support us, we get the nods, and this is a really great idea, but you're ineligible because you don't fit in this box or you don't fit this criteria. So we kept saying, well, then somebody needs to help us build a new box, because we've created something innovative here and we've got all these people and we're doing our best to keep everybody on. Again, our attrition is fantastic. We've got a better than 50% ratio, but we need help with that. We're employing people that weren't already employed, and we get that they're like, well, they didn't need that job because they're not really old enough to need a job yet. And it's like, well, yeah, but how are we going to attract people to come work in forestry?
Okay. All right. So you obviously sound hopeful because you're putting a lot of effort into finding people and training them and risking loss of money for yourself. What's driving that hope that it's going to pay off? What's driving that? Like, if you sold your company before, could you have retired?
No.
Okay.
No.
But you make money yourself if you're spacing. If you go out in space, you can earn a living. Could you earn a living?
I could. I don't know how long, because again, the rates are kind of insulting to people that want to retire. You know, you young, healthy, running in the forest, making a good dollar. But then as you're aging, you're not running around as much. Working in the rain isn't as easy. Working in 27 degrees isn't as easy. So you start making less money. So, you know, silviculture is one of those jobs where you do well, and then when it's getting closer to retirement, it doesn't look good.
Right. So you need to keep going.
Yeah.
You see hope in forestry, do you?
Oh, in forestry for sure. And silviculture, I mean, there's big hope for forestry. I mean, your podcast that we were listening to, and there's lots of good things coming. If forestry was to just stop tomorrow, if that was the case, how could you stop doing silviculture for at least 10 years after? We've already cut. You have to fix it.
Okay.
Silviculture is, and we have the fires that are happening right now. Everywhere could benefit from a little bit of silviculture. So, silviculture helps with fire mitigation, and it helps with the insects.
And you have hope that silviculture is going to protect us from fires. How do you see that happening?
If you have a strong, healthy forest, and with forest management, you have people on the ground in areas where you're monitoring sites, you have people there to protect the forest. You are growing healthier trees. They're more resilient to forest fires. They're more resilient to bug infestation. And a healthier forest all around will be better for the environment. Again, you bring into like climate change, carbon capture, bigger, healthier trees, more carbon.
Mm-hmm. And so if you can picture driving down the road and you look, you're always, Nova Scotia is just trees and water, but you drive past a forest that looks like it's dark in there and you can't see, and there's, dead trees kind of, and you're like, you can't even really see through it. So imagine that forest catching on fire. It's like a box of matchsticks. Or picture a beautiful, well-manicured, well-spaced forest, and you have a little bit more of a chance to get in there and fight the fire, and it's not just like a dry tinderbox, So when it comes to the fire management, it seems really obvious to us that better silviculture in the province will help them manage what's been happening.
Okay, so some people would say, and this is sort of a little bit away from the forest fire issue, but some people would say, well, aren't you creating these monocultures, or you're just creating forests for the timber industry to cut them down again? What about biodiversity? What about the health of our forests? What would be your answer to something like that with, if we were to really ramp up silviculture?
When I first started, it was a target density. Here, this is what we want. Everything else has to go. We don't do that anymore. What we're doing with the students is we're teaching them the different species, proper selection, not monoculture. A site needs to have a tree, whether if it's an open hole that doesn't have what is best for the mill, but we still leave something. So we are creating monoculture and teaching the kids why they need to have a diverse forest.
Okay. That sounds good. I'd be happy with that. So a diverse forest. And now I personally think we need to do more silviculture. I'm a forester. I've grown up in forestry all my life. So
again, these natural forests that we leave, the old growth forest, we can do silviculture around it with more fire resilient trees. I know that those are being studied, and that we can have forest that isn't necessarily for the industry, but we can have protection we can use silviculture to protect the old growth forests around, as in like fire buffers.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having us.
Hopefully everyone out there, our listeners, have learned a few things.
Yes, hopefully. Thank you so much for inviting us to come.
Thanks, Todd.
If you're listening to the podcast, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. We would love for you to subscribe, like, and share it with people that maybe you know or other people in the sector. If you want to learn more about Forest Nova Scotia, the organization that I work for, you can go to forestns.ca. That's our website. You can click on there, listen to our podcast, and find out more information about forestry and the forest sector in Nova Scotia.